hurt anybody.
My name is Alicia Gillen. I'm the Executive Director of the Maumelle Chamber of Commerce. I would like to welcome each and every one of you to attend our very first Senior Business Luncheon of the year. This is an effort that we like to partner with our business leaders in the area, with our high school seniors, and able to give you guys an opportunity to kind of have a moment to speak with our business leaders about your life path and your hopes, dreams, and futures. In return, we hope that we can give you some inspiration of some things that we might have learned on our path. Some of us have some very interesting careers in this room, and we'll be able to experience and understand all of them. So today, I'd like for you to take a moment, introduce yourselves to the people at the table. You guys are going to eat together. You guys are going to learn a little bit about each other and get to know each other. The food will be arriving momentarily, so once we get that food, we'll serve lunch, and then we'll start our presentation. All right? Thank you. Again, my name is Alicia Gillen, and I'm the Director of the Maumelle Chamber of Commerce. For those that do not know what the Chamber of Commerce is, basically we work with the city, the business leaders, and the residents to help promote our city. As businesses come to our area, we want to do events and have opportunities for them to be successful. So we connect our businesses with our residents to make sure that our city thrives. So one of the people that I work with on a daily basis is our elected officials. So today I really wanted them to be able to explain all of the different positions that we have within our city as elected officials and what they do for our city each and every day. A lot of the things that you see throughout our community are because of the things that these wonderful people behind me implement and work on every single year after year to make our city beautiful. So today we're going to have Mayor Mike Watson, Prosecuting Attorney Caleb Norris, Alderman Marion Scoff, Alderman Preston Lewis, and State Representative Mark Lowry speak to you. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Mayor Mike Watson.
Thank you, Alicia. Basically what she asked us to do is kind of tell you our role in government. And as the Mayor of Maumelle, basically my job is the CEO of the City of Maumelle, the Chief Executive Officer. And I know all of y'all have had history, and I know you understand there's the executive branch, there's the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. And we've got kind of all those represented a little bit here today. So that's really good so that you can hear from everybody on what part it is. The Mayor of Maumelle is responsible for the day-to-day operations within the city government. It is responsible for ensuring that the budgets are followed that is passed by the City Council, and is responsible for making sure that the projects get completed and that all of the day-to-day operations, such as you're protected by your police and fire departments, in charge of public safety. Now, no, I don't answer the call when the sirens go off or the bells go off for a fire department, but ultimately that comes down to me as I'm over that department to make sure that they protect y'all and provide the services that you need. We have 10 departments within the city of Maumelle. We've got the Parks and Rec Department, which a lot of y'all know are familiar with because you're in one of their buildings that they manage on a daily basis, and then you also get to enjoy their parks. People always say, well, what about the schools? Well, the schools are not under the City of Maumelle. We have two separate school districts in the City of Maumelle. We've got the Academics Plus Charter School, and we have the Pulaski County Special School System. Those also have elected officials that typically would manage those. Currently, that's not the case in Pulaski County, but one of these days we will have elected school board members on that at one point in time. But the best way to describe it, and when I go talk to elementary schools, I have to tell them that my job is similar to the president, only he's got the whole country to worry about. I've only got to worry about the City of Maumelle. So the next question is, well, do you have a White House? and no, I don't have a White House. My house is provided by me, not the City of Maumelle. And I don't, by choice, have a city vehicle either. But I do have my own private vehicle that I'm paid a stipend to drive, basically a car allowance. So that's what we have. And I don't have a security detail that follows me around. It's not necessary in the city of Maumelle. Even the governor has a security detail that when he goes out and speaks and everything. But just, I think we've got about 5 minutes each, so I don't want to use up my time. But I'd be happy to answer a quick question if you've got one on the role of a mayor or what we do on a daily basis.
Who in here takes American government?
All right, Sid.
What do you find to be the most challenging part of your job?
The most challenging part of my job is to please everybody. Because any decision you make is going to affect somebody differently at times. And so trying to keep everybody happy and please everybody at once. What you have to do there is you have to weigh what is best for the city of Maumelle. You have to analyze from both sides and look at it and what is the best use of our funds and facilities for this purpose and make that decision and then live with it. But it's challenging in everybody's role as elected officials. Our budgets are tight. They're getting tighter. The federal government has less money that they are able to allocate down to the states, which then can be allocated to the counties and the cities. And so therefore it just makes it a little bit harder trying to provide the services that are required with the funds that we have available.
Next we have Caleb Norris, who's our prosecuting attorney for the city of Maumelle.
So I'm actually the city attorney, which encompasses multiple things, including city prosecution. I've been looking around. I don't see a whole lot of familiar faces, which is a good thing, because a lot of times when I see your face, you're in trouble somehow. You've either been arrested or you're going through the court system. And so probably about 40% of what I do, if I break down my days, 2 out of the 5 days a week, I'm either at the police department or I'm at Maumelle District Court. Maumelle District Court prosecutes city code violations or handles city code violations. That is, your grass is too long, you throw bags of cans all over your yard, other similar things. Some of y'all got that. We also handle misdemeanors. So a misdemeanor crime is essentially any crime where the maximum penalty that you can receive is less than a year in jail. We see a lot of domestic battery cases, domestic violence issues, down to shoplifting, and that whole range of things. I also prosecute traffic violations. So for all those of you who are now driving, please don't come into court going 65 miles an hour down the boulevard or Odom, because you will end up in the courtroom. Other than just the actual prosecution, I work as an advisory role to the police department. And, first thing when I showed up this morning, I had 2 officers that had an incident that occurred at a location here in town, and it was really wonky fact pattern. There was a couple arguing, a car rolled over someone's leg. Is that domestic violence? Is that domestic abuse? Is it just accidental? And so I work with the police officers and help train them to take the facts of the case and make sure they're getting the right charges and that they're coming up with all the evidence that we're going to need if we go to trial. So that's the city prosecution side. The other side I have is my job is to advise the city, make sure that everything that's being done is legal, that we're doing things properly. I review all contracts that come in. I draft ordinances for the aldermen and work with them on that. And really that's, when you move over there, that's a jack of all trades. So I'm supposed to know everything about everything. And anyone who knows me knows I know everything about everything. So there's never a dull moment. I don't know if I'm coming in the morning and I'm going to be getting phone calls from someone who's wanting an order of protection against their boyfriend or girlfriend who used violence, or what the issue is going to be, or if I'm going to be digging through a 30-page contract just to make sure all the T's are dotted and the I's are crossed. Right? And I'd be willing to entertain any questions y'all have. Yes, ma'am?
How did you get where you are?
It is an elected position.
So what's your background?
My background, prior to becoming the city attorney, I worked for the Arkansas Municipal League. as an attorney. So I was a city's attorney. I represented cities all across the state, usually in federal litigation. Anytime someone sued a city and said, you have violated my rights, oftentimes they're members of the Municipal Legal Defense Program and would come in and represent them. But most of those cases that I got anyways were excessive force. Someone was arrested and they're saying the police used far more force than was necessary to effectuate the arrest. So I had a whole lot of those.
So where'd you go to college?
I went to college at UCA, and then I hear clapping. And then I went to law school out here at ULA.
And is that what you always wanted to do, is be a lawyer?
No, so I took a non-traditional path. When I was 18, and when I was y'all's age, the last thing I could give a darn about was anything other than what was I going to do when I got home that night, and what was I going to do this weekend, and who was the football team we were playing. I didn't care about any of that stuff. One semester at community college, I said, I'm done with school, I'm signing up, joined the Marine Corps, went off and did that thing. I didn't go back to college until I was 25. For me, that worked out because I wasn't serious at that point in my life. Once I went back to school, it was a little bit rocky at the start, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I love learning, I love knowing it all, right? A little bit of a non-traditional route.
So that can happen?
Oh, it absolutely can happen. If someone were to ask me, one of the questions that was on the list, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to talk about it now or later, is what do I wish I knew when I was y'all's age that I now know? I think I'm confusing myself. And that's that you can do whatever you want, and it comes from up here. It comes from your thinking, it comes from determination, it comes from moving away from the bad influences in your life and finding those things that you want to be, or the groups you want, and moving that way, controlling your thoughts. And so for me, that was the most valuable thing, is realizing that I could do something. I was just a class clown, and I still am a little bit, but with determination, work, you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
Am I free now? No more questions?
Any questions? Any prospective lawyers in the crowd today? None?
And I hope I don't see y'all in court, so slow down when driving, buckle your seatbelt.
Up next, we have two aldermen. There are 8 aldermen that represent our city. Wow, it took a minute. That represent our city. The entire city is broken into different wards, and so everyone that lives in the city of Maumelle has 2 aldermen that represent them at city council. So today we have Marion Scott from Ward 3.
Yes, my name is Marion Scott. I am an alderman for Ward 3. Mr. Lewis is also an alderman for Ward 3, so we share side of the table together, and we try to work together when people contact us, because I think what our main priority is to represent the people. We were elected into this position, and I use the principle of utilitarianism, and that is to do the greatest good for the greatest number with the least amount of pain. And that is not always a popular thing, because, people feel very passionately about things. And so my philosophy is probably half of the people are going to be mad at me half of the time, but all you can do is the best you can do in representing your constituents. Listen to what everyone has to say. Make sure that you're listening to every voice equally and not just the loud voices, because, like I said, passionate people can be very compelling in their arguments, but sometimes their arguments are not representing the entire city. And that makes it a little more difficult, because when they're in your ear, it is harder to separate those things and try to remain objective about what we're trying to do. The other thing that Alderman Lewis, I'm kind of glad I'm going before him, because he is a statesman. He is an excellent speaker. He has background in broadcasting. He has a wonderful voice, projection, the ability to speak and say things clearly. So I'm going before him so I could tell my side of the story. I'm sure I'm going to miss a lot of things. But the other thing we do is The city attorney Norris said that he makes up the ordinances and resolutions that are brought to him by not only the mayor, but by us aldermen. If we feel that something needs to be done in the city or something needs to be changed, we're working now on changing some of our sign ordinances, you know, so we'll work with him on an advisory council. He says, come to me and see what we can talk about and see what would be reasonable for the public and still stay within the letter of the law on those kinds of things. Or we will have an idea and we will float that idea to the council through a resolution or an ordinance that is written for us by City Attorney Norris. So we do that kind of thing. We vote on the ordinances. One of the big jobs that we have, which will be coming up very shortly, in fact Monday is our next meeting, is our first budget meeting. We've been given a budget book. Everyone submits what they want. We look it over. We look at the revenues. We look at fixed expenses. We see the pot of money that's left, and then we try to do the best job we can for the greatest number of people with that leftover pot of money. So we've got that coming up. Another thing that I like to do is I participate in the municipal league. Caleb mentioned it. It's a league of cities in Arkansas, and I'm on the big city, the large city council. And so I went to that and listened to some of the legislation that's going to be important to the council. And one of the items that might be of interest to all of you is, should we tax the internet? So the league takes a topic like that and carries it to the legislature and tries to influence one way or the other whether or not they feel like the internet should tax it, that sort of thing. So with that, I'm going to...
Well, I say, are there any questions? I guess I'm going to ask the same question that Senator English asked Caleb, is what is your background and how did you get to where you are today? Because you have a great story.
I also took a non-traditional path, not only in my career but in my education. I went to college for 30 years.
That's a 3 and a 0.
30 years. No. When I listed for someone one time all the colleges that I had attended, which are all over the United States, he said, what's the matter? Couldn't you get it right? But I loved learning. I loved learning, and a lot of things I took classes, like I took digital logic because I was working in a central office. I took AC/DC theory because I wanted to be able to climb poles and put wires together. I worked in a telephone business. I started as low as you can go in the telephone company, and I ended up as vice president of operations, which is third from the top, in the 8th largest telephone company in the United States. At one time I had 1,746 employees. So we have seen and heard it all. But it was a very exciting career, very rewarding career. I loved it. And I was on the operations side and the engineering side, which is generally, in those days, it was a man's world. And I was a woman who climbed poles and spliced cables and followed plow trucks with a rake and all of those kinds of things. But it led me to where I was, which was just a very exciting and rewarding career for me. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I wasn't planning to this position.
All right. Well, up next, I'd like to introduce Ward 3 Alderman Preston Lewis.
Kind of tough when she builds it up that big. There's a lot of things that Marion said I would agree with. First of all, the word alderman throws some people. Back when I first ran for alderman, they said, what does an alderman do? And I said, we're 2 steps below dog catcher. And when I've been alderman, I actually have caught a dog one time to return to a resident. You do a lot of different things, as small as if somebody's trash isn't picked up, they may call you. That's the big thing, is that you are a conduit. You're that link in the chain between the people and the city government. And that involves the flow of information, answering questions, finding residents that have an issue. How do they go about getting that issue changed? Sometimes it's a big issue. Sometimes we look at things like business development or roads or traffic, or we look at, our utility system. Then sometimes it's kind of small and intriguing issues like, should we have chickens? We discuss things like that. So those are all interesting. But that conduit of information is the most important thing, and that's the thing I enjoy the most. Getting an email from a student. I've gotten about 4 of them since I've been an alderman. Some of them with projects that they're doing. That's my favorite thing. Because I'm going to let you in on something that's a little bit unorthodox that I like to do. People ask me sometimes, who do you represent? Do you represent just your ward around Ward 3 and around Little Williston, or do you represent the entire city? I would answer this, and I always do, a little bit differently. I actually feel like I more represent you guys and the generation that follows you. Because yes, there is the Maumelle of now, and we think about that a lot, but I'm interested in what Maumelle is going to be like 10, 20, 30 years down the line. So yes, there are the budgets that we go through, there are the issues that we debate up on the floor, but there's also what does that future hold? Because sometimes you have to make decisions that are going to impact your children and their grandchildren. And I moved here, it's a great community. I bought into the vision of Maumelle, and I want the same for my little 3-year-old daughter. And that to me is important, so we have to be forward-thinking. That's what I always call it. Questions?
How'd you get where you are? Where'd you start off?
Well, I took some rather different turns. As Marion alluded to, when I was your age, I was actually in broadcasting. I would do high school football games on the radio, different things like that, announced at basketball state tournaments, would do newscasts and things on local radio stations. I wanted to be a sportscaster or a weatherman. I even got a degree in broadcast journalism from the University of Arkansas, Fayetteville. Had an athletic scholarship, which was kind of weird because I didn't play a single sport. Still don't know how I pulled that off. Got out of college, started a meteorological certification to become a weatherman on television. And it was fun, don't get me wrong. Took a interview for a job in Tupelo, Mississippi to be the morning weatherman down here. But I had this girl that I was dating and I was kind of serious about it. And broadcasting. You have to move from here to there, you have to climb this ladder in different markets and different sized communities. So I wasn't sure whether that young lady was going to follow me, so at that point I decided to go back to school. Actually, first I took a job in the Fayetteville Public Schools as a speech therapist aide, and then ended up marrying that girl. I got a master's degree in speech therapy, which is my day job, and we have a 3-year-old daughter, and it was a good decision. I miss broadcasting sometimes, but that's the nice thing is it's all about communication of an idea or a message or a vision, and so I'm still doing that in a way, but just in a different capacity, and I enjoy it. It's very thought-provoking, and I like looking forward to it. Thanks a lot.
And our final speaker of today is State Representative Mark Lowry.
I'm going to first start off by helping Marion put in perspective your 30 years of education. From beginning to end on my master's degree in communication, it took me 16 years. I left campus 2 different times with just a thesis left to do and got busy with life, and you know how that goes. One of my professors, when I went back the final time, he said, "Well, you just took the scenic route," and it was a good route. One thing that I'm really struck by from the students that I've already spoken to today is that you already have charted what you want to do, and that's amazing. I know Caleb was talking about his stops and starts, and so I think that is one of the best things that you have going for you. You know where you want to go to school. You also know what you want to study. I know this is going to, I'm going to actually give up a little bit of my time if she wants it. One of my colleagues is here, Senator Jane English. She's going to pass. Okay. We defer to one another. We both co-chair a task force on the realignment of higher education, so we trade off on doing those things. But she represents you as well as your senator. As a legislator, we have a lot of hats that we have to wear, especially in terms of public policy. I mean, we're dealing with judicial issues, criminal incarceration, education, public health, all these different things. And frankly, you sometimes have to step back and say, okay, what is it that I'm going to drill down on? I have decided, because of my background, I've taught at the University of Central Arkansas. My first job out of undergrad was working for the Pulaski County School District, worked in the superintendent's office then. And so my emphasis is education, and it's a good one to drill down on because education touches everything. It touches economic development, as Senator English has been saying to so many groups, with workforce development. How do we best use education, both K-12 and higher education, to make sure that our students are not only college ready, but career ready. It also, believe it or not, also touches issues of incarceration. when we want to redeem those who have had to go to prison for one reason or another. And one of the ways to do that is to make sure that they are properly equipped, educated, to be able to come out and earn a career and not end up being part of that recidivism that takes them back into prison. So education's involved with that. Public health, a lot of the issues regarding the private option, which provides private insurance for those who are not able to afford it, or maybe their jobs don't provide it. We use Medicaid expansion, and there are educational issues as far as that too, because a lot of people who do not have health insurance or just now getting it don't understand about the process of going to a family practice doctor or going to an urgent care clinic rather than going to the emergency room for a cold or for the flu. And so the cost of that emergency care is extremely high. So the private option even includes education, where we're trying to re-educate hundreds of thousands of Arkansans who have not understood the process. They've just said, okay, I'm just going to stick it out until I just can't stick it out anymore, and then I'm going to go to the emergency room. Well, the costs are dramatic at the emergency room. The legislature, I'm in my third year, my second term of the legislature. I serve on two committees, the Education Committee and the Insurance and Commerce Committee, as well as other duties. I'm Vice Chair of Legislative Council, which I didn't quite understand. I'll be honest with you, it's a learning process for me too. I didn't quite understand what that meant when the Speaker told me he was going to appoint me to it, and then I found out very quickly what it meant. It meant that he wanted me to be a full-time legislator, whether I wanted or not, because Vice Chair serves on 10 subcommittees of the Legislative Council. And if you don't know, the Legislative Council is the legislature when we are not in session. Right now, we just meet every 3 months, every other year for a regular session, and then a fiscal session which lasts about 60 days, where we pass budgetary issues. But it's a full-time job. I really don't know how my colleagues that are further out in the state do it, because many of them are just driving 3 hours just to get to Little Rock, then attending committee meetings, and then driving another 3 hours back. I'm very fortunate living here in Maumelle, representing the people of Maumelle, as well as the communities of Marche, Morgan, Oak Grove, and also the Amboy community. I'm very fortunate that I'm close by. And so I'm able to serve on those subcommittees, and I do it with a lot of joy. There's also a lot of other activities that we participate in, like this one. Speaking to various groups, I spent several days going to all of the schools in Pulaski County School District. Didn't make it to Academics Plus, or excuse me, Maumelle Charter School. I'm going to have to get used to that, the new name. But Maumelle Charter School knows I've been there for them, have testified on their behalf several times as they have asked to have their enrollment cap increased. But Pulaski County School District is something I'm extremely proud of as well. And I'm proud of what y'all are doing at Maumelle High School. I've heard great reports that y'all are off to a good season. I know you're a little disappointed so far in the football schedule, but you guys, you're going to turn it around. It's good. And the great part is the support of the community for you and also for Maumelle Charter School. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you and the opportunity to represent you as your state legislator.
Speakers today hope to convey to you is a lot of the paths that we took to where we are today were not a straight path directly to our career. We did a lot of different things and had a lot of different opportunities, but the one thing that I know I can speak to myself is do something that you're passionate about and do something that you enjoy. That is always going to set you on the right path. Where your career ends up may be a little bit different than what you think about today, and I hope in 10 years and 15 years from now you guys can come back and be the business leaders sitting in these seats and telling your story to the high school seniors in 10 or 15 years. So at this time, I'd like to go back into conversations with your groups. There are some questionnaires that we have on the table on the orange sheets. Communicate with each other. I'd like for you to talk to the business leader. Ask them the questions. Some of the questions that we talked about today. We're going to give it about 10-15 minutes, and then we are going to go around the room, and I'm going to ask one business leader and one student to stand their experience, and the people at their table. First of all, I would like to say thank you to our presenting sponsors of today's lunch. Did everyone enjoy Popeye's chicken? Yes. Popeye's chicken generously donated all the meals for today. The drinks that you have in front of you are donated from Pepsi Distribution Center. We actually have a full Pepsi Distribution Center right by Maumelle High School. Did anyone even know that?
Yep.
No.
I knew it for a long time.
I didn't know that. So actually all the hubs and all the Pepsi trucks that you see at all the different stores throughout Central Arkansas, all the way from Hot Springs to Conway, are actually distributed right out of the city of Maumelle. So thank you to Pepsi for supplying our drinks today. Students are going to be taking an opportunity, and they're heading off to Leisure Arts. So we'd like to thank Leisure Arts for being a sponsor of today's lunch as well. And yay! Business leaders, I appreciate all your time, you spending with us today. If you'd like to go on the tour, you're more than welcome to, but we understand, like myself, we have very busy schedules, and we appreciate the time that you set aside for the students. I'm going to try and go around off of where, because there's a lot of businesses in here that I would like to recognize. The City of Maumelle and all of the aldermen, city officials, thank you so much for speaking to our students today. Senator Jane English, let's see, tables, Mark Lowry, Arvest Bank is here, Caldwell Banker, Christian Brothers Automotive, Holiday Inn Express, Nash Law Firm, I got a list, Central Arkansas Baptist, Caldwell Banker, Inc. Custom Teas, Manpower is here. The Maumelle Monitor is here. Sonic, oh, she was not able to make it. The Employer's Choice, and the University of Arkansas Little Rock. Did I miss anybody? Did I get anybody? Ooh, I right. So thank you. Oh, Partridge Lane Studios. Thank you. So thank you for being So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go from table to table, and I'd like for a business leader and a student to stand up, introduce yourselves, and talk to us about your experience today. Does anyone want to jump out and go first? Who wants to go for it? Ariane! Oh my gosh, thank you so much for volunteering. All right, who's your business leader? Oh, come here.
My name's Ariane Curtis. I'm a senior at Maumelle High School. This is Miss Mary. She's one of our business luncheon people that helped us with today. And the question that was on the sheet was, what was the most valuable information gained from this conversation that the entire group needs to hear? And I would say after talking with these business leaders that the things that we're facing with high school, the struggles that we're facing now, that they will surpass and they will go on. They don't matter later in life. But the things that we focus on now will determine our future. So also, they also told me that once we choose our career path, choose something that we love. And Miss Mary said that she hasn't worked a day in her life because she loves her job. So pick something that you love and that you're interested in, and it will take you far in life. Also, you have to work your way up to the top. It's not always you're not gonna love your first job. My first job was a lifeguard at Wilder Country, and it's not my ideal job. So that's not what I want to be when I'm growing older. So my goal is to be a nurse in college. So I hope to work my way up to the top, and that's what I hope that I'll love when I get older. So thank you.
It's such a pleasure as an attorney to talk to all these wonderful people and business leaders as well. As a matter of fact, I sat down at this table and thought these two kids were in high school, you know. Counselor. And but it's when you have any advice to give to young people today, it's do what you love what you do. Confucius said it, Winston Churchill echoed it. If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I've been very fortunate that I've been able to do what I love. And I'm only 5 years out from being as educated as our alderman back then. I only got 25 years in it, loved every minute of it. And so go where you want to go, do what you want to do. You will have detours. Okay, I married at 16, had kids at 19 and 24, went to college at 25, went to law school, got a master's, a LLM, a postdoctorate master's, and it helps me do what I do today. And I absolutely love it. So I tell my grandchildren all the time, you wake up one morning and you say to yourself, I just can't do it another day. Quit and go do what you love.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason. I'm a senior at Maumelle High School. In our discussion table, we're mainly talking about communication and rhetoric and how young people nowadays communicate with other people and just in general just communicate. And Mark Lowry said Mr. Lowry. All right, well, he said, he noticed how, young people usually, they communicate through Facebook and, texting, it's more common now than before. And, more, I agree with him. I think, it's more common and, more students need to, learn how to talk in front of people and just, learn how to speak, speak clearly. I have that issue too. I'm social awkward, so I don't speak well in front of people, but I'm learning. But yeah, just more young people need to learn how to be courageous and talk clearly, speak clearly, have more confidence in themselves and speak clearly in front of people. And, yeah.
Hi, my name's Shallon Sigelinsky. I'm also with Nash Law Firm, Mary Nash. And we kind of covered a lot of different things today with these guys, the students. And I'm really not much older than you all. So we covered a lot of different things that, I think, as you said, communication, that's something that's important. It's really easy to get caught up in your cell phones and social media. One of the most important things that I could probably stress is don't put anything on social media that you don't want to follow you for the rest of your life, because it will. So that's something to keep in mind. Something we also talked about, finances. Right now, it's not something you really think about, personal finances. Mom and Dad probably still take care of most of it for you, but pretty soon that's going to be all on you. And having a bad credit score is something that can also follow you for the rest of your life. So it's important to just kind of learn those things that, you may think are common sense, but they're really not. I mean, you really have to work hard to maintain good credit and to build your own personal finances to where you want them to be.
Hello, my name is Abby, and I'm a senior at Maumelle High School, and I'm with Miss Kelly Davis. And I think what I learned talking to these guys is you don't have to have a straight path towards your career. You can go off a little bit, you can study abroad, go to the military, because I'm a planner and I stress a lot, so it was really relaxing to know that I don't have to go straight into it, and things can change. I've known that I wanted to be a pediatric oncology nurse since I was a sophomore, but it can always change. I can always do something else, so I think it's important to know that you can go off your path, and whatever you end up doing 20 years from now is what you were supposed to do. So.
I think at your age, you've got lots of ideas and goals, but they do change each day. And life can steer you one way and then it steers you another. So today you may think, I'm going to go and be a forensic scientist, and 5 years from now that may look different. You may be a mom with 3 kids and 2 dogs and moved from 3 states, and 20 years later you go back and everything looks different. So don't put a lot of pressure on yourselves. Oh, I'm going to do this and I have to do it in this amount of time, because it can look different. And you're still going to follow a path. You're going to gain skills that you will use the rest of your life, and lots of things. You got a lot of support. So ask lots of questions and just enjoy what you do and have fun. That's the main thing.
I'm Ryan Spurlock. I'm a senior at Maumelle, And I just wanted to say thank you for the business leaders for coming out today and helping all of us. And this was a great thing for us students to come out here and just learn from the different positions that everybody got to talk about that they do in their everyday life. And it really helped me out a lot today. And the question was, what was the most valuable information gained from this conversation that the entire group needs to hear? And I think one of the biggest things that I took from the day was like that Abby and a couple other groups said, like starting out, you can think like go to college to like pick something that you want to do, but it can always change. And you don't have to be set on that one little thing going to college. So anything can change.
My name is Sonia Primo. I'm Associate Dean for Graduate Studies in the College of Business at University of Arkansas at Little Rock. So one thing that I try to impart to them and that I hope can impart to some of you, the path probably will change. Hardly anybody graduates from college with what they start in. And unfortunately, a lot of times what happens along that path is they're in a subject matter that's not really what they expected. They don't like it very much, so they don't put the effort into studying, so, you know, their grades aren't so great. Or they're having a little bit too much fun with the fraternity and the sorority and the ball games, and so their grades suffer. And as someone who works, right now I work just with graduate students, I see the aftermath of that. Because they eventually get that bachelor's degree, and they start a job, and then they find out that that's not really what they want to do. So they decide to take a different path. They come back to grad school. Or they're doing well in their career, but to really advance or to change positions and move up higher somewhere else, they need more education. They've got to go back and get that master's degree. Well, guess what? When you go back to get the master's degree, those grades really, really matter. And I work with people every day who really want to come get their master's degree. They want to come get their MBA, because I work with the MBA students at UALR, and I have to tell them no. Or I have to tell them, well, this is what you're going to have to do first. And they have to go back and take some more undergraduate classes to try to boost their GPA. Or they have to go take an entrance exam. You took the ACT, a lot of you. Well, it's not the only standardized test you'll ever take. There's others. So they have to go take those tests and score really, really high, even though they've been out of school for 10 or 15 years, okay? Or they get told no, and they don't get to do that. So if you figure out you're on the wrong path in school, make the change, okay? And have fun in college. It's some of the best years of your life if you're smart about it. But don't have so much fun that you end up paying a really big price further down the road.
Have a responsible amount of fun.
Yes. And it is possible.
So, my name is Austin Mitchell. I am a senior at Maumelle High, and at this table, we had a really fun time. We talked about more along as to also following your goals and doing something you really love, and just, you know, enjoying it every day, because you don't go to work to work, you go there to play. I was always told that growing up is, you go to work to play, because it's obviously something you love. And over here we talked about not just, you know, how do I say this? You have to, the presence. When you go to an interview, the presence you have to like dress nice, dress appropriate. And we also talked about looking ahead and learning from the places you're employed, or, you know, your businesses you go through. Learn from different people, because having a wide variety of knowing what it is, you're going to have a better opportunity in life and in your future. Because I've moved around a lot, and so I've had opportunities to learn from different people in different places and learning how they operate and how they work together. And Ollie also had told me that he is a commercial banker, and that was not his first choice. He wanted to work in banking, but it kind of like, it got him to that point. So working hard can really get you up there and can basically put you in a job that you're going to love and have fun in it. And thank you.
I'd like to
Wilson. I'm with Coldwell Banker RPM, and we had a great time with Austin and Amber and Jasmine here. We covered a lot of information. We talked about everything from how to get a credit score started, what to do about your credit, how to save for the future, how to get a job. One of the things we talked about is how to start a resume. It's the same, how do you get your life started. That's something you can work on now. What's going to be on your resume if you've never had a job and you go in for that first interview? Are you volunteering in your community? Are you on clubs at school? What are you doing? So think about all of those things. But they all have great goals and are working toward it. What they all understand is what we've said over and over is that goals can change. Just learn and listen to the people that you're around, and your ears are the best learning source.
Hi, my name is Talisa. I'm a senior. He's Kate. Yes, we're on a first name basis now. He taught me that do what you love. He knows people that make a lot of money, but they're not happy. They hate their job. So if you go into a situation and you're like, this is what I really want to do, but you think that you may hate where you're working at, take a step back and see what you really want, because this may not be it. It's never too late to find out that you want something that you love. He also helped me with the fact that I do want to pursue in acting, but it's okay if I want to go into something else or to see what I want to do. But when you walk into an interview, my mom always told me, you can have on shoes and they may look pretty, but if you can't walk in them, don't have them. And also, yes, he may look good on paper, but when you meet that person in like face-to-face contact, that's what really matters. If you cannot speak to a person, you don't. So hand it over to you, Kent.
My name is Kent Terry. I work at Ink Custom Tees. I'm a professional salesman. I have been my entire life. I've sold just about everything under the sun. I worked for corporate America, did not like it, and which is why I'm at the Ink Custom Tees again. There's something to be said for doing what you love and quality of life. And those are things that you have to figure out sometimes while you're in school. When I went to college, I went because that's what you're supposed to do. I got out of high school and everybody's going to college, so there I went. And that's okay, but you need to try and spend some concerted effort to figure out what is it that I really am passionate about and that I want to do. Because there's three things that you need to do when you go out into the workforce, you make a living. You got to be able to provide for yourself for food, shelter, and clothing. And then after that, it comes down to a question for yourself of what kind of standard of living do I want to have. And yes, I do know some people that make a tremendous amount of money and they're miserable and they're stuck because they can't leave the profession that they're in and make that kind of money. But they don't want to give up the standard of living that they've become accustomed to. Terrible place to be, and it leads to lots of other problems. Yes, they have money, but it's created a lot of other things that is not so pleasant. So things I learned about these young people, we have one that aspires to be an actress. She also has a passion for community service and helping others. We have one that wishes to go into the armed services. We have one that not so sure, maybe a lawyer, maybe not. We have another one that is loves to learn as well. We may have another career student on our hands, and she loves to teach on top of that. So anything that she gets to teach to others, she's always happy. We've got another one that's interested in videography and film, and that's not something you come across every day. So that's an interesting field as well. So anyway, a lot of great things here, but pay the price up front. That's one of the things with them. When you go off of school, you do have to have that reasonable amount of fun. But pay the price up front because it does make a difference. And even though I'm an old guy, yes, I do look at people's profiles on Instagram and Facebook and whatever else is out there that I can find, because that gives me a better shot of who is this person than when they walk in my office and they're all dressed nice and well prepared and look the part. So yeah, they're going to look at your stuff, so go home and clean that up. Okay?
Hi, I'm Alec Bishop from Sidney Moore. The main thing that we kind of like talked about in our group is present yourself. Like here in a couple of years, not far from now, I'm gonna be going up to business owners asking for a job, and you gotta like look the part, like you said, and be yourself. Don't act like you're something that you're not. Something else they talked about was that just stuck with me was the. The advice for us. They said that we're not going to ever, just jump into a job and be the manager of this new firm or anything. That we might start in places where we might not have pictured us being, we might not have wanted to be there, but we just have to work our way up. Mainly just do your best, and eventually you'll get to where you want to be, or possibly even higher.
Sid Moore, my wife and I own Christian Brothers Automotive on the Boulevard. I'm really encouraged today, just visiting with Alec and Shelby and Rebecca. They've got dreams and they've got goals, they've got things they want to do, and it's just encouraging, to see you guys with things that you desire to do and kind of have an idea where you want to go. As everyone's kind of talked about, you may have roadblocks or things that change your path, but if you're not shooting for something, you're not going to hit anything. So it's good that you have some goals starting out. Just to reiterate what was said about school, take advantage of those opportunities. That was one of the things that we talked about. Any opportunity that you have to learn, take advantage of that. The better you can do with that, the more options you're going to have. So in interviewing with people, presenting yourself well, dressing well, your resume, make sure there's not a lot of grammatical errors and things like that. So that's the only thing we have to go by when we're looking at that is if this is your best foot forward, then that's what we're thinking, that's all it is. So the other thing we talked about is being a go-getter. As an employer, I just like to see people that are just go-getters. They're going to get stuff done, and so that's helpful. And again, just just wanting to take advantage of the things that come your way, whatever it is. The mayor talked about that. Just even with typing, he said, "I wish I would have paid more attention to typing because I didn't think I was really going to need it." But now we do everything on computers, and so just whatever comes your direction, take advantage of those opportunities so that you can have options.
My name is Nikimi Williams. Now, what we have talked about here was what was the most valuable information that was given to us. Now, what I've been told, and also been hearing from everybody else, is that we're going to fall down a couple of times. We might fall down and not get up, but with assistance and with mentors, they'll help us strive to become better from our mistakes. Now, what I've heard the first time over there, a fellow female student, even though I'm a male, that we're going to be going on different paths. There can be a straight line, even if we pick it or not. Heck, we might be in a car with no GPS. You want to know what will be our GPS? Our mentors, our families, our friends. I mean, I can go a straight line, turn to the left, do a U-turn, and I will still go back to the path that I chose. I want to be a librarian. Because of what reason? Because I want to know knowledge. I want to know every single thing there is in a book. If there's going to be something about Hamlet, Shakespeare, Filthy Frank, or even something comedic but balanced. Now, Brittany wants to become a physical therapist. So I'm going to come to her every day if my back is in pain. Now, Austin wants to be a dentist. I'm going to avoid him at all costs. But basically, I've been hearing nothing but we will fail, but we will gain from our failures. And so what I'm hearing is we're going to be striving to what we want to do, what we want to do. Video game art, video filmers, actress, dentist, I'm staying away. Physical therapy, above and beyond. That's what I love to hear. There's nothing but boundless enthusiasm. enthusiasm from everybody. I've heard Miss Marion. She did out the wazoo for every single thing to strive up to what she was. Like doing electrical cables, walking around dogs. I heard somebody saying that he like changed his dream occupation, but he still got what he wanted. He got a smile on his face, I can tell you that. I even heard that there's some people that hate their jobs, but they rack in a amount of money. You can pick the job that you love, do anything that you want, as long as you're doing a great job in it. Now, I feel sorry for the people that hate their job or racking in the $100 bills, if you know what I mean. But what I love about it most is, if they got a family, they can put food on the table. They can clothe their children. Because even though they hate their job, they're loving it because of one thing, their family. Now, if they're alone in a one-bedroom apartment, it's like listening to
Don't forget to tip your wait staff.
Thank you so much for attending today. I think that the theme of today is do what you love. One thing I would like to pass on is I really do what I love. I get to have the opportunity to meet young people like yourselves, work with my business leaders. But remind you, there are parts of my job that I do not like. But I still do those parts of my job with the same enthusiasm and excitement as the things that I love to do. Because if I don't do those parts, I can't take the opportunity to do these things. So in schoolwork, there are courses that you have that you do not love, and that's okay. Still do those with the same enthusiasm and zest that you have for the things that you do love, and everything will end up on the right path. With that being said, students, thank you so much for coming today.